Garden friends. We are here with the second activity for Science Kit number 11. We are going to label the parts of the acorn. Now this first part is going to be for TK through first graders, and after we do this one we will work on the one for second through fifth grade. All have the same acorn. It's a little bit more detailed than my TK through first grade one. So you're going to need some scissors and you're going to need some glue. And if you want to color in your acorn after you label it, you'll want to get crayons or markers or colored pencils. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my word bank out right here. Try and cut along the lines if you can. It doesn't have to be perfect though, so don't stress. Okay. So I have 4 labels for my parts of the acorn. Okay. So, let's read them. This one says remains of the style. And this one says stem. This one says nut. And this one says cupule. That's a fun word. Okay, so my stem is this portion here where the acorn is attached to the tree. Oh, my glue feels a little dry. Let's see, maybe that'll work. So I'm going to glue my stem label right there. Then, cupule, that's the name for this little thing. We kind of think of it as a hat usually, right? It looks like your acorn is wearing a little bit of a hat. It's actually called the cupule. And then this, what we think of as kind of the main part of the acorn, that is the nut. And then down here, the tail of the acorn is the remains of the style. The style was portion of the flower. That got fertilized with pollen. All right, so there's our TK through first grade acorn anatomy. Remember, anatomy is just a scientific word that's referring to the parts of whatever we're talking about. So in this case, this is the anatomy or the parts of the acorn. Stem, cupule, nut, and the remains of the style. Alrighty, so if you are TK through first grade, that one is all done. And then second through fifth graders, we're going to do yours now. Now we don't need the glue. We're going to need something to write with. So grab a pencil or a pen. I'm going to try and use this erasable pen because I think it'll show up better. Okay, so we know from that previous one, okay, so let me say again. Now we're doing second through fifth grade acorn anatomy. So this is the stem. That's where it was attached to the tree. So I'm going to write stem here, and I'm going to check it off in my word bank. Let's see. Okay, so I've labeled my stem. Now, if I look at my hat, right, this is the cupule, that top outer part that's gray on our diagram. So that's the cupule. And I'm going to check that off. Okay, and then let's see. The next layer, let me see, can I tell where it's pointing? There we go. The next layer that's just under the cupule is called the pericarp. Pericarp. So see how this one is pointing right here. This outer, it's sort of the outside whole boundary is the pericarp. okay? And just inside the pericarp, we would call it the seed coat. So this one right here, inside the pericarp, is the seed coat. Check that off. Okay, and then, let's see, I've got the pericarp and the seed coat. Okay, and you see here, I've got 3 things, and they have one name altogether and then individual names. So the name altogether, I got to turn my thing sideways to write it, is called an embryo. Okay, and I'm going to check that off of my list. And so the embryo has 2 cotyledons. You might remember the word cotyledon from when we did our bean dissection a few weeks ago. So it's got 2 cotyledons. That's the 2 halves right here. And then the little thing that it kind of looks like a heart in our diagram. I'm not totally sure that's exactly the actual shape, but in our diagram, this little heart-shaped piece is called the plumule. Oh, did I pronounce that right? Plumule. That's a fun word to say. Okay, plumule. Then the part underneath the plumule is the radicle. So those are all words you may remember. The cotyledons, plumule, and the radicle, you may remember those from when we did our bean dissection. So that's some of the similar terminology. And down here, the little tail or point at the bottom of the acorn, that's the remains of the style. And there we go. We have labeled the inside of our acorn. And if you'd like to go ahead and color it, that would be great. It might really help visually to see if you colored these layers, different shades of brown, maybe like a dark brown and then a lighter brown and a really light beige or something, so that you can really visualize the difference between each layer. Okay, so there's our acorn, which is the fruit of the oak tree or the seed of the oak tree. It's very exciting to get to learn about. Thanks, 4th and 5th graders. I hope you enjoyed, I'm sorry, this was also 2nd and 3rd graders. So 2nd through 5th graders, thanks for learning about that with me. And I hope you guys have a great week.